Well, I would just say for months we have been asking for a list of which programs were cut and why, and all we have received is this unintelligible spreadsheet, a sheet that does not seem to reflect reality. We need clear answers on how you need to plan to spend this year's funding, and asking for a commitment that you let us know, because you have terminated programs, you have fired staff. What are you going to do with that money that was already appropriated?
Marco Rubio just proved he has no control over his own agency, and Rosa DeLauro exposed him for it in brutal fashion. This isn't just about one bad hearing. It's about a secretary who is either willfully incompetent or deliberately letting billionaires, like Elon Musk, dictate U.S. foreign aid policy. And that should terrify all of us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I might quickly say that a while ago we had a briefing by USAID senior officials, Jim Cunder, Chris Milligan, and just a quote, what has been done was an 84% cut to USAID. It scatters the remnants of USAID across a dozen state bureaus and almost guarantees that our competitors will dominate in local competition. The fact is, people have been fired and agencies and programs have been terminated. Secretary Rubio, human lives have been lost. Extensive damage is done to the U.S. international standing under your watch. This would not have happened if the administration had followed the law and congressional intent. Congress appropriated foreign aid funding with a clear set of directives, yet with no notice to Congress. The administration has broken the law, completely dismantled U.S. Foreign aid, hijacked funding for the State Department and USAID at the behest of Elon Musk and Doge. I might just say, you don't have the authority, Elon Musk doesn't have the authority, the president doesn't have the authority, and OMB doesn't have the authority. The authority to appropriate funding comes from this body, the United States Congress, and it is so stated in the Constitution. You're now sitting on billions of dollars. This subcommittee, which appropriated that funding in the first place, has no idea of how you plan to use them. Secretary, how do you plan to spend your agency's remaining fiscal year 2025 money, if not as directed by the Congress?
Well, I think the president through OMB is going to work with you and the Congress on how best to, reset the funding levels for the new year and how to move those funds. And we await OMB guidance in that regard.
Well, I would just say for months we have been asking for a list of which programs were cut and why, and all we have received is this unintelligible spreadsheet, a sheet that does not seem to reflect reality. We need clear answers on how you need to plan to spend this year's funding, and asking for a commitment that you let us know, because you have terminated programs, you have fired staff. What are you going to do with that money that was already appropriated?
Well, again, we're waiting for OMB guidance, and obviously they'll reach out and work with Congress on these funds.
OMB is not working with Congress. The president is not working with Congress. You are not working with the Congress. We need to understand, if we are going to appropriate dollars, what it is that has happened. What is it that you propose to do with the billions of dollars that you have expropriated?
Yeah, again, that's a function, as you know, that's OMB has those decisions to make, and they'll have to work with you on it.
Then I guess you don't have much control over your agency, Mr. Secretary.
Well, ultimately, we have a lot of control.
Reporting, you have terminated more than 90% of USAID programs, 60% of programs at state. All are the firing of all our development experts in the next few weeks, and are preparing to fire hundreds more at the State Department. We need an accountability. And if we can't, I don't know, if we can't get it from the Secretary, then from whom are we going to get this accountability? It is your department.
Well, with all due respect, some of your numbers are incorrect. We have not cut 60% of the funding at the State Department. If you're referring to the budget request, that's different. There has not been mass layoffs at the State Department. I think there's been less than 200 people that have been ripped from the State Department. From the State Department. I'm talking
about, USAID. And
that's a different one.
Well,
right.
No, it's not a different issue. You now plan to take on, and the gentleman said you're going to scatter the remnants of
That's
USAID throughout the State Department. Who is going to make sure appropriated funds are spent properly?
Well, they're not going to be scattered. They're actually going to be consolidated in a couple of funds that deliver, for example, International Humanitarian Assistance Fund. We'll also have an increase to the Emergency Refugee and Migration Assistance Fund.
You mentioned previous secretaries who have moved in this direction, and I just want to say to you that they decided not to do it because it was ill-advised. 15% of the planned cuts, there's 15% planned cuts of state staff. Now, who is going to make sure that appropriated funds are spent properly if you have fired all the staff with experience overseeing the process? Will you personally be approving every expenditure? I know you have a lot of jobs already.
No, we're not. First of all, we haven't fired any experienced staff other than the people that were riffed out of the 2 divisions in the department. But other than that, I said at the State Department, there's been only under 200 people have been removed. Some have retired and so forth, but that's normal in any cycle. We are also going to hire new people,
Let me
including,
just
as
say,
I've already...
you have,
Well,
my time is short, Mr. Secretary.
so is mine, and that's why I want to tell you that we're
my
also
time
going
is
to bring in
short
people
here.
from USAID.
My time is short. I reclaim my time. You have terminated key monitoring and evaluation programs. Allow us to account for the use of this funding. How does allowing the money to flow out the door while hamstringing your own ability to track that money make our government more efficient and prevent waste, fraud, and abuse? It's clear that from the administration and Musk that the process is ignorant of the purpose of foreign aid, utterly unprepared to manage their own dictates, taking a chainsaw to foreign aid with no concern for human lives or the broader consequences for our security, no plan for the future. I yield back. Thank you.
What Rosa DeLauro exposed in this exchange isn't just incompetence, it's a moral and constitutional crisis. Let's be crystal clear. Congress holds the power of the purse. That's not partisan spin. That's the Constitution. When the executive branch, with the backing of billionaires like Elon Musk, starts reallocating or hijacking money without congressional approval, it's not just reckless, it's illegal, and it chips away at the foundation of our democracy. But beyond the constitutional violation lies something even more telling: this administration's values. Because foreign aid is about more than dollars. It's about whether the United States still believes in compassion, stability, and global leadership, or whether we're content to turn our back on the world in the name of austerity and corporate interests. Think about what these cuts mean on the ground. In countries where USAID operates, programs are keeping children alive with vaccines, helping farmers withstand climate disasters, and providing food in war zones. When those programs vanish overnight, it's not a budget efficiency, it's life or death. Rosa DeLauro is saying what too many are afraid to admit. These cuts have already cost lives. That's the price of indifference. And then there's the global stage. Pulling the plug on aid doesn't just hurt vulnerable people abroad. It hands influence to China, Russia, and other competitors. Foreign aid is one of America's greatest tools of soft power. It's how we build trust, forge alliances, and strengthen democracy worldwide. When we gut it, we're not saving money. We're weakening ourselves and empowering our rivals. Notice Rubio's answers. They weren't answers at all. He hid behind OMB, hid behind the president, hid behind process. And when pressed on specifics, where the money went, who decided, how it will be used, he had nothing. That's not leadership. That's abdication. And DeLauro nailed it. You don't have control of your own agency. But here's the larger problem. This isn't just one official failing. It's the deliberate hollowing out of government. Fire the experts, scatter the agencies, slash the oversight. Then, when chaos follows, shrug and say we're waiting for guidance. That's not an accident. It's a strategy designed to weaken public institutions so that private power can fill the void. And who benefits? The billionaires and corporations who can swoop in where government once stood. That's why DeLauro's anger matters. She's not just fighting over a spreadsheet. She's fighting for the idea that government should still work for people, not for Musk, not for the executive branch, not for whoever can cut the biggest deal behind closed doors. And this is where viewers need to connect the dots. If government can so casually dismantle foreign aid, something Congress clearly funded, something with direct constitutional protections, what else can it dismantle? What other safeguards of democracy are treated as optional? This is how authoritarianism creeps in, not always through bold declarations, but through gradual erosion of accountability. That's why progressive voices like Rosa DeLauro are so critical right now. She's sounding the alarm before the damage becomes irreversible. And if we, the public, aren't listening, then silence becomes complicity. This isn't just about holding one secretary accountable. It's about defending the principle that public money serves the public good. Because if we let billionaires and backroom deals decide otherwise, then democracy isn't just at risk, it's already slipping away. So if you believe in transparency, accountability, and a government that reflects our values, not the whims of the powerful, this is the fight to pay attention to. And if you want to keep unpacking these moments with us here at Liberal Lens, breaking down not just what was said, but what it means, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join the conversation. Because understanding the stakes is the first step to changing them.